Hey Pennsylvania, it's Wine O'Clock on Wine Time PA. Join Rob, Holly, and Steve as they explore their home state of Pennsylvania and all the wonderful wineries it has to offer. Each month, they take a journey tasting the wines of PA. If you're able, pour a glass of your favorite wine and join us now for Wine Time.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting edition of Wine Time PA. My name's Steve, and I'm here today with my co-hosts, Rob.
Hello.
And my lovely wife, Holly.
Aloha, everyone.
So, our podcast is all about us, three everyday wine drinkers that are traveling our home state of Pennsylvania to try every single winery. Now, it may take a decade or more to do that, but we're going to keep trying.
I'm willing to do that.
We're going to do the old college try here.
Yeah. So this episode, we're going to continue our journey into the Lake Erie wine country, and we're going to be discussing Yori Wine Cellars and Brewing Company. They're located in the heart of the town called Northeast, which is northeast of Erie, not northeast of Pennsylvania. So that's fun to know. They have this beautiful historic building, and their winery is open Wednesdays through Sundays, but closed for major holidays. You don't need a reservation to visit, and you can stop by anytime during their hours of operation. This is actually the first winery we visited when arriving to the Lake Erie wine country, when we visited in June of 2025. So all of our information today is going to be from that time frame. The name Yori actually comes from the last name of the couple who owns it, Michael and Lynn. We got to meet Michael, who came down over and sat with us for a bit as we shared some wine, and he gave some history and talked to us about the winemaking process. And first, we just want to say a big thank you to him for being such a great host. We learned a lot. Absolutely. It was just fun. And after 4 hours of driving, it was nice to just sit down and relax with some wine. Yeah.
Yeah. And Michael, yes, I want to read it. Thank you as well. It's evident how much you love wine and your passion shines through. And I just want to thank you for all the wonderful information. I mean, you were also reached out on social media before we arrived, and just a warm welcome. And we really do appreciate your time.
Yeah, it was a great visit. And, we're looking forward to next time we're up in the area to stopping by and saying hi again.
Yeah.
Let's give a little history about their winery. So, like many winemakers that we've come across, they started by just simply growing their own grapes.
For Welch's.
For Welch's, yes, in the Northeast. I mean, that's a case across the country or across the state as well, but especially up in the northwest part of the state there. They planted their first vines in 2003, and they just started on the side making some homemade wine for themselves, and they started giving away bottles here and there to some friends and some people they knew. And then people started asking them for specific bottles of wine, and they thought, we should probably start selling this and make some money back off of this. And so that's what they did. They applied for some licensing around 2016 and opened their doors in 2017. Now, when you go to the winery, you will notice that it's in the heart of a small classic USA town where you can visit when you visit and are not in the actual vineyard setting. Michael did mention that they own about 5 acres nearby, and they plant what they can, and they also source their grapes locally. Everything but one grape varietal comes from the Lake Erie region, and we will mention that other variety here in just a moment, but most of their grapes do come from the Lake Erie region, which also does include New York, so this isn't 100% Pennsylvania, but it's close enough. However, the one grape that they do outsource is labeled American wine, and that would be from their Merlot, and that is the one grape they do have to outsource from outside of the region.
Yeah, this podcast may be dedicated to Pennsylvania wines, but we recognize, this is one area in particular. It's right on the border of the Pennsylvania and New York. So when we visit wineries in the past where not all of their grapes were grown in PA, there's nothing wrong with that at all. We just, it's our home state. We want to give props to it. We do appreciate that they are still making and producing what are local wines to the area, though, even though that does include multiple states. And it keeps in that same regional area with all the same oriented terroir. with the exception, obviously, of Merlot, as Rob mentioned, which we forgive because I'm not 100% sure their climate is super adapted to the Merlot grape.
Yeah, that's one grape we've noticed that tends to be outsourced a bit. I think it's more California climate based, but there's some wineries in the state that try to grow it, and they do a decent job with it.
Yeah. And I also say I love the sense of community that I got from talking to Michael. Like, all the winemakers in the area seem to know each other. They help each other. They communicate often. Like, he offered to text one of the owners from the other wineries we were planning to visit on our trip, and I just love that sense of community.
Well, yeah, and then there was an owner at Yori from another winery while we were there, and we got to chatting with them too, so...
Yeah, I mean, I was a wedding planner for years and always had a great relationship with other local planners. We always said, you can be competition in a sense. It doesn't mean you need to be competitive. We always work together to promote each other and prop each other up, and they seem to do that in this region. I really appreciate that. Anyways, let's talk about the building and the tasting room, as it's an historical building, and I love a good historical building. First, when you walk in, you'll notice you can go left or right. Left is actually a counter service pizza shop they own called, wait for it, Michael's Pizza, which honestly smelled great, by the way. And right will take you into the wine tasting room, which is also sort of broken into two rooms. The first room, you have the long bar, which you go to order all of your food and drinks. And then the second room is the seating, which is comprised of like wooden tables and black metal chairs. They had high tops and standard sized tables. They had beautiful hardwood floors, a absolutely stunning gold tin ceiling, and red brick walls. Both, we were told, were original to the 1800s when the building was made.
Yeah, and I love brick buildings, and this was just, you could tell it was like old and classic. The bricks were like a little cattywampus. They weren't perfect. You could tell a human just was putting them in and evening out all the mistakes. And it just had that like classic, a lot of modern buildings, the bricks are just laid perfect with the perfect amount of mortar, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just lacks charm.
Yeah, and I love the detail. It had a lot of character to it. And Michael said they did all the remodeling themselves, which I thought was super impressive. Yeah. And some of what they added was beautiful stone fireplace. They had these really cool light fixtures they made themselves. They took the top of like a wine barrel and strung these sort of industrial lights to them, and it looked really cool. Anyways, as usual, we'll eventually post pictures on social media to look out for so you can see what the tasting room looked like.
Yeah, it was just, I really liked sitting in there. It had a cool feel.
It was a nice environment.
Yeah, I'd say industrial, but it didn't really have that feel either.
It was old school.
It was just, like, classic.
Yeah. Very charming.
They also had a nice outdoor patio area that you could go sit, and we took a look, and it looked really nice. It was just way too hot that weekend, so we stuck to the air conditioning. So let's talk about doing a wine tasting. You can purchase custom flights of all their wines. They had about 31 to taste on their tasting sheet while we visited, and they were broken down as follows. 8 dry reds, 6 dry and semi-dry whites and rosés, 8 semi-sweet white rosés and reds, and 9 sweet whites, reds, and rosés. The tasting sheet also lists all the residual sugars in the wines, which we really appreciate. The prices for the bottles were very reasonably ranged $13 to $20, with one of them being at $30.
So if you're not into wine, or you're with a group of people that maybe some people don't like wine, well, we found out that Michael's a very busy man, because he also, in addition to the wines, makes craft beers and ciders. And in fact, you could do them in flights as well. They had 4 hard ciders available when we visited, and not just apple. They had pear, strawberry lime, and blueberry. They also had 11 craft beers on taps and had a great range. I mean, they had pilsners, lagners, brown ales. I mean, they pretty much had everything. Any kind of beer, they pretty much had something for that, and they're all crafted by him.
Yeah, they really run the gamut. And we were in wine mode, and I don't like to break wine mode when we're there, but I kind of regret not trying a couple of those beers and ciders. They sounded really good.
Yeah, they did look good, especially some of the ciders that they had. But they also do some cocktails and mocktails, and it's really a perfect spot if, again, you're there with people who, some people don't like wine but are into beer or ciders. They really do have everything for everyone.
Yeah, they do. And while you're there with a group, don't worry, you will not go hungry. You can easily walk over to the pizza shop side and get some food such as pizza, salads, subs, and pasta. But they also have a small plates menu specific to the wine side, and it offers a lot. Of course, they have a charcuterie board, but they also have things like pretzel bites, coconut shrimp, meatballs, fried veggies, flatbreads, and you can order pizza. I actually ordered a trio dip, and it was a dip of buffalo chicken, spinach artichoke, and bruschetta, which they told me if I wanted to swap out one of them, I could. So, like, I could get 2 buffalo chickens and no spinach if I wanted. However, I got all 3. And they came with naan and tortilla chips, and I really loved all 3. I thought the bruschetta would be the weak part of that, and I think it was my favorite. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good on that naan bread. I just remember really enjoying all of them.
Yeah.
I could have personally gone for a little bit more spice than the buffalo, but I know they're catering to everybody, not just me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't really have too much of the dip. I don't know, I was just tired from a long day or whatever, but the buffalo chicken dip was good. But yeah, I also noted that I could have used a little more spice in that. But yeah, it was still very tasty regardless.
All right, so it's time for us to move on to the fun part of the episode where we discuss the wines themselves. This part, we will share 2 of our standout wines based on our personal preferences, as well as 2 group picks. The group picks are really about what we could all agree on and think it's a good crowd pleaser if you were to buy something for an event or a gift. These are ones that, even if it's not their favorite, just about everybody should be able to enjoy these. And we always tell people, just drink what you love. Also, we're not being paid or endorsed for our recommendations that we give out. In full transparency, though, when we do visit the winery, we never ask for anything, but on this trip, they did give us the industry discount, so we got a little bit off of our final price, and we really want to say thank you again for that. It wasn't necessary, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, unexpected, but thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Rob, why don't you kick us off and tell us about the first group selection?
All right, our first group pick is the Dry Riesling. Now, none of us really shy away from Rieslings when we go. In fact, we've often said that Rieslings are kind of one of those wines that we've got started on. But lately, I haven't really been impressed with too many Rieslings. There've been some really good ones out there, but nothing really wows me. Except for this one, really wowed me. And in fact, our whole trip to Erie, to the Lake Erie region, really kind of rekindled some of that enjoyment of Rieslings that I've had in the past. And this one was an excellent pick. It had some great fruity aromas, even some hints of honey in the taste. I was getting a lot of strong green apple taste in the drink, and even, a little bit of that acidity or tartness in the finish. And this was just a great Riesling. I think I even bought a bottle of it. It was so good.
Yeah, it was really nice. I noted I got some honey and earthiness kind of in the smell, and it was there in the taste, but it was subtle, which I appreciated, and I really enjoyed those green apple notes.
Yeah, I love those green apple notes. I didn't think it was like too much, and it complemented nice with some citrus and acidity. And yeah, I'm not always a fan of these dry Rieslings because I want some of that more fruit forward. The dry often loses some of those fruit flavors, but this wasn't really the case in this one. It was just lower residual sugars, and it just had all this robust, interesting, fruity flavors, and just thought it was thoroughly enjoyable.
All right, so I will mention our second group pick, and that is the Familia. So we went from dry to sweet in our picks, as this is a sweet red blend. But the tasting sheet said the residual sugar was 5%, so I don't think that's terrible for a sweeter wine, and it was the driest of their sweet wines under their sweet table there. The tasting sheet noticed it was similar to Lambrusco. So if you're familiar with a Lambrusco wine, I can say, yes, it does remind you of Lambrusco. It smells all sweet and grapey, and it does start a little sweet, but it has this really nice tart finish to it that left me saying, ooh, I like that. Because at first I was like, sweet, oh, never mind, that's good.
Yeah, it was definitely a sweeter wine, but those lower residual sugars really made it much more palatable, much easier to drink. Kind of tasted like, Concord, that just typical grapiness. And yeah, Lambrusco was actually one of the first wines I drank when I got into wines. It was it was a wedding gift at a friend's wedding that they had these party favors with Lambrusco wine. And so that was kind of my intro into winery, was a Lambrusco from the Lake Erie region somewhere. But it's a great for a dessert wine or just, a small glass to sip, during the afternoon someday, and good pick.
Yeah, this one kind of reminded me of like a lighter bodied Concord. Maybe not so much in the taste, but in the way it's like grapey and it's sweet. And there is this beautiful tartness with the acidity that just rounded out the flavor. It was really thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah.
All right, so my first individual pick is going to be their St. Croix. This is a semi-dry red. It's medium bodied. The tasting sheet said that it was like these dark berry notes, but I just swear I got like plum and currant, which I love, so I don't care. It was just a nice dry finish without too many tannins and just really smooth. I just sat there and enjoyed it. I think I liked it the most because I drank most of that tasting.
Yeah, it was a good pick. And again, yeah, that combination of sweetness but finishing dry was just kind of really unique, and it was a wonderful wine, and I rated it pretty high on my list too.
Yeah, and I don't think there really was a lot of sweetness. It was a semi-dry. I think it just, the fruit forward.
It was just the fruit forward.
The impression.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah, there were a lot of dark fruit notes. I think that was the only thing I put on my tasting sheet. Dark fruit notes, which are hit or miss for me, but it was enjoyable. So my first pick of my 2 personal recommendations is the Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, good Sauv Blanc.
Yeah, I love a good Sauv Blanc. And this one only had 0.5% residual sugar, so very dry. It was really crisp with floral notes. I even put maybe a little bit of honeysuckle in there. I got really nice apricot flavors in the fruit. And I think this was a potential crowd pleaser as well that we had considered, as it was just a really great dry white wine that I think you could serve this with so many dishes.
Yeah, I found this one to be really easy drinking, citrusy, a good decent bit of acidity. Just, nice, easy to drink Sauv Blanc. Very tasty and good.
Yeah, I got some hints of like even green apple in there. That was just really enjoyable to drink, that Sauv Blanc.
I wish I got the apricot. I didn't get that, but everybody's tastes are different.
Everyone's picks are a little different there. So for my first pick, I'm going to go with and forgive me for pronouncing this wrong, the Caro Noir. Now, this is a dry red, and I was just kind of blown away by the dry reds in the region in general during our trip, and this was no exception. This was a medium-bodied, so a little heavier than some of your lighter, like Cab Francs, Pinot Noirs, so a little heavier bodied. Had some nice floral aromas, but also some nice fruitiness, like cherries, maybe even a hint of like strawberry in there. Had a nice light amount of pepperiness that you get in those typical dry reds, but it was very smooth. And I actually looked it up. This is a hybrid grape, and I've been enjoying these hybrid grapes quite a bit. And this is a crossing of the Seville Villiers and the Steuben grape, believe it or not.
Interesting.
And this one I've seen before here, kind of hit or miss, but it seems to be a little bit more common up in the Erie region. So they must be a good climate to grow them. But it was just a nice dry red, and it's the Caro Noir.
Yeah, I think this was on my honorable mention list. So I'm glad somebody brought it up. I thought it was a really unique grape we'd never come across before. I got the cherry, but I noted it had really nice fruit notes. There was like no tannins in it. For a 0% residual sugar, that surprised me. And it was just smooth, and it drank more like a semi-dry wine to me than it did just a dry wine.
All right, well, I guess I'll go on to our second pick, and I know this one's going to come as a shock to the group here, but I picked a Traminette.
Yeah. Shock to nobody.
Traminette's my favorite grape. Like, I do not hesitate and do not apologize for that. I do enjoy a really good Traminette, and this one was up there among my top favorite Traminettes. So it's a dry white. It has a lot of great floral and citrus notes in the aroma. I got more of the citrus taste when I drank it, which I like more citrusy than the floral in my Traminettes. And, it had some nice acidity in the finish, but it's a Traminette. I can't not pick a Traminette every once in a while, and this was just a really good example of a Traminette.
Yeah, I thought it was really nice. I think you said dry, but it's listed under their semi.
Oh, it's a semi-dry. Yeah,
but it's only like a 1.5 residual sugar, so it's
everything's knocked down a category.
Yeah, so it feels very dry. But I also enjoyed this as well. I thought it had some really nice floral notes and some honey, and I even noted a little bit of lemon lime in there that I liked.
Interesting. Yeah, I like the floral of that. It was just a good. And I know especially for Rob, he loves the citrus, and I got that, and it was so good. For me, I wanted just
more floral.
I wanted a little bit of floral to transition from that wonderful aroma down into the wine, but I still really enjoyed it.
Give me citrus all day, every day.
So for my number 2 pick, I'm going with the rosé. So it's a little off-brand, but this one was great. The first thing you're going to notice is this incredible aroma. It's a dry rosé with just a touch of sweetness, so it's at 1% residual sugar. It has this nice bit of strawberry flavored, followed by some more like subtle melon flavors. And it was just the right amount of acidity to just make it feel really well balanced. It was a dry, but it didn't have this like overly dry finish either. Just really easy to drink.
Yeah, I definitely got some notes of the strawberry and melons in there. I almost thought it was a catawba at first, but it's not. It was a blend of a couple other grapes in there. But yeah, it was a good rosé.
Yeah, I loved it. It almost made one of my picks as well. I think he said it was a Chamberson and Sheridan blend.
I think Chardonnay in there too.
Maybe, yeah. I noted in my notes Chamberson and Sheridan. There might have been something else in there. But yeah, it was just a really nice blend. It had a really beautiful light pink color. And I really enjoyed the strawberry and watermelon notes together.
Yeah, I wonder what evokes that. I did definitely get some Chamberson in there when I drank it, but it just blended in so well to everything else.
Yep. All right, so I guess I'm rounding us off with our personal picks here, and I'm going with the Sparkling Aramella. Hopefully I'm saying that right. While they had a regular Aramella that I enjoyed, which was made from the Muscat grape, this one I liked a little bit more. It's listed as a sparkling semi-sweet Moscato. It hit my tongue with a lot of different notes. Like I got some citrus notes, I got some orange, I picked up a few other fruit notes, and I just wrote sparkling wine fun in my notes.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed this as well. For all the things Holly said, it's nice and complex for this style of wine. I really enjoyed that. And the CO2 just really helped tame down the sweetness while adding this just bit of effervescence that just made it feel good on the tongue. It was just really pleasant to drink. I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I even enjoyed this. I'm not a big sparkling fan, but I think the sparkling helped tame down some of that sweetness from the regular Aramella. And it was enjoyable.
All right. Honorable mentions, right?
Kick us off.
All right. Mine were basically taken, by Steve and Rob. But I'll give a quick shout out to the Chardonnay. I just thought it was crisp with some really nice fruit notes, maybe some citrus and honeysuckle, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to the Leon Melot. I think that's how you pronounce that. So this is dry red, 0% residual sugars. It just had these like nice plum fruits and a really smooth dry finish. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And I'll shout out the Norette. Again, another dry red. We've come across these a bit, and it's just typical dry red, just really smooth, light pepperiness, nice light tannins at the finish, and just another great dry red.
Yeah, I didn't expect so many good dry reds from Erie. I was thinking more it was going to be like Rieslings and Concords and stuff, because of Welch's and just the terroir of the region. But yeah, pleasantly surprised by all the good dry reds.
Yeah,
absolutely. So just to mention some of their most popular best-selling wines that they have, the Familia, one of our group picks, is one of their best sellers. The Beach Glass Red, the Cap Sauv and Cap Franc, Leon Millet.
Yeah.
And the Caro Noir. I think just about all of these were on our picks.
They were most of them were mentioned, I think.
So, so those are some of their best sellers.
I mean, everybody else agrees with us.
Sounds that way.
Sounds that way. As far as award winners, if they had a lot of wines that had some medals on display in their tasting room, so if you're there, I do suggest checking them out. We will have some pictures on social media. A lot of them came from Finger Lakes competitions. I saw a couple of recent medals on the Norway and the Coro Noir, as well as the Sparkling Rosé. Michael had also mentioned that their Fredonia was recognized recently by other winemakers in the state. Like, they all got together and blind tasted each other's wines, and a lot of people raved about the Fredonia. I thought that was kind of cool, though, to learn that the winemakers do that as well.
Yeah, how do I get invited to that competition?
Yeah, seriously. I want to judge.
All right, so wrapping up, this is just an incredibly welcoming start to our Lake Erie wine country journey. Michael and his entire staff have not only made some amazing wines, they created just a really wonderful setting in which we can enjoy the fruits of their hard labor. It's a stop everyone should make in the Lake Erie Wine Trail, and we're also impressed with everything else they do between the wine, the beers, the cider, the food. I don't think they sleep. For more information, visit them at YoriWineCellars.com, and that's spelled YORI. You can also find them on social media. And speaking of social media, please find us. Give us a like, subscribe. It just helps us grow. And share our podcast with others if you think they'll enjoy it. Tune in for the first Wine Wednesday of next month as we focus on yet another Pennsylvania winery. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Wine Time PA with your host Rob, Holly, and Steve. We hope you enjoyed our take on Pennsylvania wineries and all that they have to offer. Please be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast. Also, be sure to follow them on social media for updates and news. Remember, when it comes to wine, drink what you love.